Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to another episode of the No Fluff MSP Marketing Podcast. And today I'm extremely excited to have one of my MSP heroes on the podcast today, Tom Lawrence. Tom, thank you so much for being on.
Hey, this is exciting. We were having fun. I ran into you. Was it at the Acronis when you had a fishing thing you were doing? It was fun.
The tackiest booth out there. And you said something that was like the greatest thing ever. And I can edit this out after if you don't want me to say it. But you
Oh, you
said,
can say it.
no, it was great. You're like, I love this because I was saying we have no marketing budget. We just booth with someone else. We didn't even buy a booth. And you're like, yeah, this is the best type of marketing, the no effing money marketing. Because it's like, you got to be creative. Like, you don't have any money yet. You're a new business. You just got to get creative.
The constraints that are around you. I think I maybe even my usual rambling about things, but I talked about one of the reasons like Vine, and we'll go back a number of years. This dates you now if you know what Vine is.
Oh, love Vine.
But any of these things where you have any creativity that has boundaries on it, yours being cash, not having the budget to say we can spend $1 million on marketing, but it forces you to work in those constraints. And sometimes that forces the most creative people right to the top because they figure out how to work within the boundaries that were placed around them, going, what can we do with this limited amount of thing? And whatever those boundaries are, I don't know, it's always interesting me. And it's how a lot of these other platforms curated a lot of that. And of course, it's how some of the clever marketing people come up with ideas like, having some magnets and some fishing poles.
Yeah. And you're spot on. It's like every MSP listening to this right now, like almost 100% of them have a limited marketing budget.
Yeah,
because we're a decent sized MSP now, and marketing's been huge for us, and I'm still strapped on a marketing budget, right? And so like most people see me now, I've got a five marketing team, people of 5 on my marketing team right now. But like for most of all tech, it has been me with zero budget trying to grow the MSP, and it's exactly what you said. It's like we got to do a Smashathon event. We got to hold webinars that are actually fun and not like here's your data backup, like. So yeah, that was great. And it's funny, my marketing coordinator, Steven, who was there with us, he's like, Tom's a legend. I was like, I know, right? Like he got like 30 seconds of you talking to him and he's like, who is that guy? I'm like, that's Tom. But I guess we can go back a little bit. I've been an advocate, video since day one. I wish I brought my original camcorder. It was like this $300 piece of junk because I didn't have any budget, but I knew video was important.
Yeah.
So I rented out the local, because I was in graduate school when I started as an intern. They had like a green room and it was free for students. So I just like rented it out and did our first all tech video. I've since delisted that video because I'm ashamed of it.
Those are the best ones to leave up. That's how you go, I was there one day. That's what I did.
I think I'm probably going to add it to the MSP Camp blog where it's like, how do you do video? And it's like, even if you're starting with this, and just show like how terrible it is compared to like our current quality. But it just, I had no budget and I was like, I got to try something. So I rented out that room for free, did this terrible video, and people loved it. Like, to me, I thought it was terrible, but like customers liked it. I got so much feedback on it, and it was just like, cool. I'm glad I started this. And that's what kicked off 7 years of loving video. And that's how I found you. And you do it better than anybody in the business. And that's a fact. I don't think anybody can really argue with that. And you've gone a lot of different routes with your videos. So like, why is it that your channel and you as a personality, like, why do you think you do so much better than really pretty much anyone else in this space?
Well, thank you for the kind words, but let's talk about the space first.
Okay.
I'm an IT and MSP business owner, so I'm by far not the most viewed on YouTube. My views are actually kind of small by comparison to, Linus Tech Tips is probably one of the big people in tech that is known for success as a technical entertainer. And there's several other people as well, but all the people that actually aren't focused on that actually focus on the MSP business. Yeah, I probably would say I can't think of anyone else who owns a IT services company and has a large following on YouTube. So in that weird little niche, I can claim the #1 spot, I guess. I like to add context as much as I appreciate the kind words. But one of the other things I thought of is I'm not really better than anyone else. I'm just an early adopter, which means I was able to hone my skills on this a little bit sooner than other people who started today. And one of the big advantages of being first to market, doing something new, is no one really can compare how good you are. So I look good by contrast, by the fact that there's no contrast. Who's the next closest one is so far away. It kind of gives you the appearance of better. I
Yeah.
always try to look at it from that perspective. There's a book I read. Jay Samit has written some good business books. One of them is called Disrupt You. It's a fun idea book of businesses. And one of the things that he's kind of said in a mantra, if you communicate with him or when he does his public speaking, is he says he's never been really good at business, even though he's this like uber successful serial entrepreneur, et cetera, et cetera. He goes, oh, I'm always just first to market at things, and I exit the market before the good people get in. And I always thought that was a really fun perspective that he had on it. And so I kind of feel like I'm in that same category of, I bet someone could do this way better than me. They're probably doing it better than me right now and just haven't built the audience. And I don't know that it means I should exit this because I really like doing it.
Yeah.
And no one really wants to buy it. But it's just that contrast of I probably look better than I am because no one else has really competed against me.
That's such a good point. And I think of like, not even on the business side, but like on the TikTok side, like I got friends who they've had Instagram, Facebook, and they're doing their best to put out content, but they're really not doing much. And now TikTok came out, they were one of the first people on it. They're posting the same content and they're getting millions of views.
Yeah.
And they're all of a sudden these like TikTok influencers out of nowhere. It's because they were like one of the first people to be like, yeah, I'm going to try this with literally the same content, but just packaged up in a different way. And like it exploded. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's a great piece of advice. It's like first to market, right? Or first to do a thing that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and I'll reference one more time that book Disrupt You. One of the intentions, it's like a collection of business stories of how companies got to where they are. And so many of the times the story was they were just the first people to do something. Pennzoil's mentioned there. They were the first people to go, you know what? Oil can be in plastic bottles. That was their innovation. Like, we're
Mm,
going to, and you're like, well, of course it's in plastic bottles here in 2020, but it wasn't back then. So sometimes these weird market innovations grew billion-dollar companies because they said, well, we just like, made it really simple.
yeah. Wow. That is so awesome. And then on the other side, it's funny. Like I watch a lot of, a lot myself. I watch a lot of YouTube, and it's funny because sometimes I'll watch YouTube people that like are not very charismatic. Like, and they don't have to be, right? Because their
Right.
videos are just like, this is who I am. This is the education I'm going to provide. But then you look at their thumbnail, and their
Mm.
thumbnail is them trying to be super charismatic, even though it doesn't really match who they are because they know how important that thumbnail is. So they're like,
Yeah.
I have to do this because this is the only way that people are going to get to me. And then I can be myself. And you do thumbnails so well. Like, I've looked at all your YouTube videos, and most people, they don't even do YouTube thumbnails or thumbnails for video. Like, how did you get good at this, and how important is a thumbnail for videos on YouTube specifically?
So I've heard it's diminishing a bit, but obviously in the
Okay.
past it was extremely important. You want to make them click interesting. So you want it to grab someone's attention, give them a reason to click on it, whether it's the result or something of the outcome, and maybe make them curious about what that outcome would be by watching the video. And that's where that click, why are you holding something that's on fire? What led to this fire in there? Um, I never try to be off base on it or send someone to put something on fire when there wasn't a fire. The closest I came, which was actually really strange, was I was talking about a data center problem and someone didn't like that I actually used a fire on the thumbnail and it did not show the actual data center fire. And I'm like, well, I didn't really have footage of the fire. Someone snapped
Yeah.
a picture. Yeah, I think it was the OVH incident that happened in France like 2 years ago. But I was like, um, okay, I'll admit that yes, I did have a picture of the fire, but not video of the fire. Like I was just talking about what happened when the data center goes down.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but for the most part, I have a little bit of background in design. I also just kind
Okay.
of look at things. Lately, I started using Canva just to make it even faster for me.
Nice.
Canva is just really simple, but I used to be someone who did a lot of Photoshop things. I actually had done graphic design work kind of as I say hobby slash I charge people money for it. So I guess that's when it stops being a hobby.
Yeah.
I just wanted to try my hand at design. I actually, even when I worked in corporate, helped them design a lot of their presentation graphics and things like that. So I've always kind of dabbled around and touched in that. So it wasn't like I was learning from scratch to do it.
So you're actually doing your own thumbnails.
Oh yeah, I do all my own.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So, like, that's great if you can do it yourself. And for anyone listening, You don't have to do it yourself, but it's
No,
better if
I
you
don't advise
can.
it.
But yeah, that's amazing. It's
I
funny you say. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Tom?
I would say I don't advise it. My
Yeah,
obsessive behaviors are not necessarily healthy ones of the way I behave. So I throw that out there. Like, I spend a lot of time doing this, and that's not always the path that I think should be encouraged. Like, too many people want to die on the I worked 97 hours this week.
yeah,
Well, I am obsessive, so I don't know where work and play begins and ends because it's technology. I'm excited about it, but it's not something that
love
I
it.
encourage or expect of the people that work for me. I tell them, look, this is your allotted 40 hours a week. Go home after this, guys. Hang out with me if you want, but you can go home.
Yes. Yes, I love that. It's funny you said Canva because like I didn't even really know what Canva was. Like I heard about it a little bit, and then we launched MSP Camp, and like we put all the content on the membership site, and I was like, okay, I put a PDF and an Illustrator file. Like surely that's enough for people, you know? And like within the first week, so many member suggestions came in, like you have to do Canva. Like, what are you even doing? I was like, oh, okay, my bad. So
Yeah.
now we have like the Canva files, and like people love it. I'm like, okay, so I guess Canva is very important. So
Yeah.
hearing you say that too now, it's like, okay,
It's just such an easy web-based way to do it. And by the way, they have a ton of YouTube thumbnails that you can start with. Like they have base templates that are easy. It's worth the subscription just to go grab them all and just drag my silly face on there. And I have a green screen, so I make some stupid. I have a collection of dumb faces I've made. That seems to be important. People click on faces. I've done the A/B testing. I wish it wasn't true because someone says I hate when you use those thumbnails, and I said I hate when I use them too. But here's my A/B results of 70% better click through by putting my stupid face on it. Hence, my
wow.
stupid face is on it. The A/B testing, I said, I wish the A/B testing was wrong. I tried to not do it, but I'm a statistics and numbers person, so
That's it. That right there is a golden nugget for anybody listening. Like, sorry, you got to do it. It's working right now, and then keep looking and seeing if it changes. But that's results right there. Data
yeah.
showing that that's why you do it, and that's why it's important.
Yeah, there's tools you can use, like, I use TubeBuddy, and it will do the A/B testing. It swaps out all the thumbnails for you,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, it'll actually, go back and forth between them and then tell you which one performed the best, and then, you can say, "Run this campaign for 7 days, see what the click-through rate is," and it can do title changes, so it can run multiple title options, it can run multiple thumbnail options, and you say, "Hey, pick whatever one's best, just run with that one after the 7-day test is over." It'll do it
And
automatically for you.
that's called Tube Buddy.
Yeah, it's a pretty
I'm
cool little tool for doing that.
100% using that. Awesome. This is gold. It's gold, Tom. Appreciate it. And then for everybody listening, if you're a member of MSP Camp, you're already in Canva now because that's how you're doing the designs. So go ahead and get some free YouTube thumbnails. If you were thinking about doing that
Yeah.
video, it just became a whole lot easier. And I actually just published like a YouTube, like how to do video for MSPs. I'm about to update it with this content. This is great, Tom. Like YouTube Buddy for A/B testing. You know, make sure
Yeah.
you get your thumbnails in Canva. This is
It just makes
perfect.
life easier.
Yep. You know, you mentioned like your time as you. It's not really work because you're all you
It
enjoy what you do.
Yeah, it's hard for me to define.
Yeah, I'm the same way, especially as of late with MSB Camp because it's been the funnest thing ever. Like over the last weekend, we're like building the back end of the site. I'm doing these profiles. I'm like gamifying the website because it's just fun. It's not work. So you have a lot of time on your hands, right? Well, you don't have a lot of time on your hands. You don't have any time on your hands, but you still go to conferences, you create content, you do podcasts like this. Most MSPs will see you doing all this and say, I can't even check out for a minute, or I can't go to that conference because I'm locked into the office or whatever. What is your secret to managing your time and team to where you can leave for a week and know that things are going to be okay?
It that is a really tough one because I don't feel I'm as good at it as other people I know that have been able to compartmentalize better than me,
Mm,
but I have always been the anti micromanager. I've always been working to empower the people around me so they can make decisions, so they can make things. And I really don't understand some of the mentality where people have that they assume as the business owner, you play the most important role by being involved in everything. And that's really, and maybe it's because they don't have anything else to do. So that's what they end up doing. And I've watched so many of my friends, and this goes outside of the scope of even tech businesses, and everyone has worked for a micromanager and
mm.
they just watch every little thing going on all the time. And I've watched so much energy put into it. And I'm like, my energy goes into, how do I do big things? How do I bring in more business? Maybe I think a lot about strategy, the whole, the famous words, you work on the
Yeah.
business, not in the business.
Oh, yeah.
And no, it's so few people ever take that to actual heart.
Yep.
It is hard, and I think especially with technical people, because the majority, probably 90%, I'm guessing here, are technical founders, so they never want to let go of hands-on keyboard. And they have a hard time trusting. It's really weird. Some of the, besides any of the marketing questions I get, probably the top question I'll get from people that want to start an IT business, well, how'd you hire someone else and actually let them have control of something?
Mm,
Like, I couldn't ever give them my admin password. I'm like, well, if you don't give an admin password, they're never going to do their job.
mm,
Like
yep.
and you'll watch people bounce from place to place as technicians trying to find, like, I worked for a guy, but he basically had to do every password approval for everything. So, and he still took days off and nothing got done because no one can do that. So thinking about how you're going to empower the people around you, how you're going to give them responsibility. Once you start from that mindset, you'll do better to do it. It's just you need a day off.
Yep.
Well, maybe you don't. I don't know. Some people don't think they do, but I need to be able to go to a conference.
Yeah. That's so huge. Like in my own, I see that in my own world right now, where it's like anything I'm really doing a lot of like self-evaluation. Like anytime I'm the bottleneck, where it's like we haven't done that thing because I'm waiting on Taher. I'm like, all right, how do I make sure that I can never be a bottleneck? Where if you're waiting on me more than 2 days, you can just do it yourself. And it's a lot of things. It's unfortunate because I'm like, holy crap, like all of these things depend on me, and that's not scalable. Um, and and you're right. Like, the owner of Alltech, Tom, for the longest time, it was him and two people at the MSP. So he was so used to doing all of the things and having the techs do the tech work. And so over the last like 7 years, I've had to like rip things out of his hands. And every time we do that, we improve as a business, and he becomes more comfortable with doing that. But I think it's just he's been burned a couple of times in the past and things like that. So it's just such good advice, Tom. Like any of the MSPs listening, like if someone can do something 60% as good as you, then it needs to be delegated, right? Because at least it's getting done rather than
Yeah.
being pushed off.
Yeah, you slowly work on that. And, maybe to a fault, I've done it and been trusting in people. That's going to happen because someone
Yep.
says, well, have you ever been burned doing it? I'm like, yeah, I've been in business for 20 years now because I was coming up on 20 years next year. So with 20 years, yes, I've been burned. Yes, people stole from me. Matter of fact, one person went around me in the billing. So when I say stole from me, like literally they just went and talked to a client directly and got paid for certain things. And of course, didn't disclose this to me. And, those are things that can occur. And people are like,
Yeah.
oh, you weren't watching close enough. I'm like, no, I got rid of that person and you find someone else that you can trust.
Yeah.
The majority of people are honest, but that fear, like, even I don't get jaded from it. I'm like, obviously that particular person was not a good fit for the company.
Yeah.
And it turns out, because you sometimes in circles keep track of people for a while and you're like, wow, this, once you get to know them, you're like, wow, they went and kind of had a disaster campaign at several other places. And you just learn that some people, they're not the majority. You remember them better than some of the others because of that, but it shouldn't stop you. It shouldn't be what holds you back, because the majority of people are good. The 99% of them are good. So if you are unlucky enough over a 20-year career to come up with two people that have done something like that in 20 years of being in business, I think you're ahead of the curve. You're fine. It's statistically not as likely to happen. So
Yep.
delegate those tasks. You got to get some other stuff done.
That's huge. And that's huge because it's like, yeah, there's going to be some negative, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be some negative. You're scared of, if you're paralysis by analysis of that little bit of negative versus the positive that comes from what you've done and what an MSP can do, like it way outweighs it.
Yeah.
So great point. All right, Tom, I got to hit you with a question that I'm sure you get more than anything else when it comes to marketing and your videos. What has been the best performing content to drive leads for your business? And what has been the results of your videos for Lawrence Systems?
So I did some numbers this year and I posted them on LinkedIn. I try to be as transparent as possible about everything I do, just because I don't think things should be a secret how I do any of the videos, how I do business, or actually, if you've seen me on LinkedIn, what is today, November 18th and 17th, I had a couple posts that a lot of people have shared talking about things, and it's about how we use security tools. But back to the
That
question.
was great. I saw those. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
The
yeah.
guy poking the tool, and he's like, do something.
Yeah, doing something. Yeah, I also post a lot of memes to be funny, but they're relevant. And it back to the question at hand,
Yeah,
though.
sorry.
I posted on LinkedIn the number of leads that we've got. So from January 1st, 2022 to November 2nd or 3rd, when I had posted this on LinkedIn, that number was of roughly 500 people that booked us, but
Wow.
500 not unique, just 500 bookings that were pretty much all from YouTube. Let's bring it in a little bit. 280, I think, was the unique number of email addresses. All I did was dump this into a CSV file and pipe through unique in Linux and said, hey, look, this is number of unique email addresses I have here. And said, all right, these are how many unique email addresses booked me. And the majority of all those bookings are from YouTube. Now, as far as which content drove it, that could be a little bit fuzzier because everyone has a niche that they were watching. So I actually have probably only 20% or less of my videos. I look at where the stats are today, are viewed by people who actually subscribe to my channel,
Hmm.
which gives me a really large view count, but even the almost 300,000 subscribers I have is still low compared to the wide number of every 90 days, like 1.1 million unique viewers hit my channel.
Wow.
And the reason for those stats is because I'm scratching an itch. How do I insert name of
Yep.
what someone was looking for? The YouTube videos are a result. So which ones bring in the leads? Well, people looking for a storage solution. We talk a lot about storage solutions. So storage solutions, virtualization, and network engineering are the three primary things that we bring in. But sometimes because I cover security topics, I have people want us to help them with security or actually become their MSP, more focused on the co-managed side. So my MSP started out as the usual fixing small business computers. We've moved way more into the co-managed MSP. That's where we're at today. And it's a result of not targeting that audience. It's that audience coming to us and go, hey, how do we action on all these leads that come in from people talking about storage servers and things like that? Oh, their internal IT teams. They would probably like to have us assist them with co-manage. So let's work on that. So we did things a little bit in reverse in terms of how our go-to-market plan wasn't a marketing plan. It was, I was going to keep making YouTube videos. What do we do
Yeah.
with all these people that call us? And what can we do to help them? And we streamlined an entire consulting process from it. But it's primarily just the topics I cover have led to the engagements I have. If I covered other topics, it may lead to different engagements. Obviously, infrastructure has been a big one because we talk about some of the infrastructure that we build, and I've done some videos on that topic. I've been lazy because those are the hardest ones to edit. So there's fewer of those in the last year posted, and we're doing, which is the opposite. We're doing way more of those jobs than we've ever done before. We just did a school district, 5 buildings, over 300 access points installed. By the way, they found us on YouTube. So nice
Nice.
$250,000 project. And I didn't do
Nice.
any video because I didn't feel like going out of state with the team that we sent out of state to go do that project.
That is so epic. Wow. And it's so great that you talked about co-managed and because a lot of your videos are pretty technical. And smaller MSPs are like, well, our marketing persona doesn't care about that. It's like, well, it is if you're going after the IT director,
Yes.
because that's who you want. You want the IT director, you want the bigger company that is augmenting their IT with you. Co-manage is our favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
It works great. We have an internal IT or a whole team of internal IT, and we have defined roles. It's phenomenal. So your content is perfect for that. And
Yep.
so it's like it's the highest intent. If someone's looking at a backup solution, they're either an MSP and cool, they got some free value, or they're an internal IT director that could use your service. And I'm big on knowing your marketing persona. And so we did a campaign to co-managed because a lot of our co-managed clients are actually IT directors that have hired us. And most people are like, oh, would they trust an MSP? It's like, yes, they're getting more and more comfortable hiring and trusting an MSP. So what we did is we shipped them a Game Boy and a little game themed card that it's like use cheat code, I'll take service to unlock these things. And it's like, if I would have sent that direct mail to a co-managed to executives, it would not have been effective. I mean, they might have liked it, but they're not going to care as much. But since I'm targeting the IT guy, that nerd, the person I know really well because I work with them and I am one, I know how to market to them when that thing got so many leads because the IT director loved it. So your content is tailored to that perfectly. And just overall, great answer. I really appreciate that, Tom. So anybody listening, Tom's a great example of video working.
Yeah. But I'll leave something with the MSPs who are targeting small businesses. And you can do this. By the way, I did this very effectively prior to doing anything on YouTube. I had partnered with some local banks, and small banks are always trying to figure out how to provide value to their business customers. And who are their business customers? Almost always small businesses. The small mom and pop shop, a small printer office with 8 people there doing some graphic design work and wanting to figure out how they can do more with their business bank. So the business bank would have people like myself come speak. And so it's a marketing opportunity for me. And I'm not talking
Oh,
about storage servers or virtualization to people that are running a small 3-person office that's doing accounting, but I
yeah.
do have a fun talk. And by the way, feel free to use something similar to this. I always called it protecting digital you. And then I would define what is digital you? What are the safety things? Why you should have a passcode on your phone. Really basic, actionable takeaways because that matters to small business.
Yeah.
Should I use G Suite or should I use Outlook? I've actually had that as part of the talk. Some of these little things that small businesses have to decision.
Yeah.
What you should do for a small business phone system. By the way, I don't sell phones, but boy, why you should or shouldn't have Comcast be your phone provider. You talk about some of those really basic, mundane things in front of small businesses. And it turns out they go, hey, you seem to know what you're talking about. What exactly do you do for a living? Is the next question they'll ask you and
Yep.
engage with you on it. So there's a lot of opportunity to create some of those really basic and useful things that you can tell small businesses of when you get up from your computer, you should probably lock it. This is
Yep.
why. You don't have to be over the top, eccentric, and dancing around to do the video with some crazy TikTok dance. You can pretty much be straightforward in the way I spoke to that.
Yep.
Simply this is what happens if you don't lock your phone.
Yep.
One of my slides was really funny. You remember the gummy bear attack on the first fingerprint sensors?
I don't think so.
So you could
Uh-oh.
actually put your fingerprint on a gummy bear. I believe if you look up gummy bear tech, I mean, this is like the first iteration of some of the sensors to be able to
Uh-huh.
do it. So if you do something fun like that, and they're like, oh, look, whatever that thing is of
Mhm.
how this can present a security risk to you, people go, that's interesting. And it's not technologically over their
Yes.
heads. You're not talking about things there. But there's ways I always like to give takeaways like, great, you don't want to do a virtualization video. I get it. That's not the audience you're targeting.
Yep.
But if you're the normal MSP, going, hey, I just have this accounting office. How do I win their business from down the street? I'm like, talk about some basic things that you can help them out with.
100%. That's why like all of our YouTube's big on like tech tips for end users because those
Yes.
end users, it's like how do you use Teams Advanced? How do you, recall your email Outlook thing, right? And it's all us. And that's been huge. We've gotten a lot of leads from just little simple end user training and tech tips like that. And it's funny you mentioned like the stuff that the end user or small business cares about. Like I've been asked all the time, like, why doesn't MSP Camp have a managed IT services marketing campaign? And I'm like, well, I've tried it. I've tried marketing managed services. And I'm like, and from my experience, it falls on deaf ears. Like no matter what target marketing persona you're going after, what people care about is like Microsoft 365 because they use it every day and they are interested in SharePoint. They don't know what OneDrive is, but they're friends using it and they don't really know how to use it. And so I can lead in with that, right? I'm not going to just sell Microsoft 365, but that's how I get their attention. Internet. Every business like has issues with internet. They know their cable sucks or whatever it is. And if you're saying, hey, I can present all the internet options to your business, now they're listening. So like that's why we kind of break out our campaigns to where it's like really specific things like VoIP systems. People understand phones. They're like a thing here. And they're like, okay, I get a phone system. Yeah, mine's old. Like I do kind of have this pain point. But when it comes to like more, managed services, this really big topic, they get kind of scared and they don't engage with the content.
No,
Um,
and a lot of it's just being conversational. Never talk over
yeah,
your client's head. Think about how you can make it as simple as possible. You're just one more decision point on what they're doing.
yeah,
The uh, simplicity of it is how basic can you make it for them because you
yeah,
don't want to add to a small business owner's things they have to make decision. I use a trucking company as an example as we have a lot of those that we still service that are from some of these clients been with us like 16, 17 years. And one of them, like, Mark, I love dealing with him because Mark's like, look, I don't care what oil goes in the trucks, and I don't care what antivirus goes on the computers. He
that's
goes,
a great way
I
to
care
put
that the
it.
trucks keep running and that my computers don't break. Tom, just give me a price to make these things work. He's
Yep.
always he breaks it down very simple. He'll speak to it, and people think they got to break down the detail. Like the value I provide is telling you I'm using best in class AV. A lot of times they just want a simple answer. How much to keep this stuff running? I got a
Yes.
guy that tells me how simple it is to keep my trucks rolling. You tell me how much it is, and I got an HVAC guy that tells me how much it is to keep this place cool. Like,
Yep.
I don't care what
100.
refrigerant went in or what brand it is. Just tell me that no one's going to be hot or no one's going to be cold. Great. Here's your fee.
God, that is gold. Yes. For all MSPs listening, please go back 15 seconds and re-listen to that part. That's gold.
I should give away one of my icebreakers I had when I would do because yes, I have done cold calling, and I've done events like small business events. But one of the sillier ones I did, but some people remember me for it. It came up the other day, so it reminded me. We give away a ton of ink pens. Lots of people do. That's not the news. The fun part is when you hand someone going, "Hey, I got this magic ink pen. It solves computer problems. So all you have to do is keep it somewhere on your desk, and your computer won't break." And if I'm wrong about that, call the number and let me know. I said that to so many people.
That is so gold. And
I,
that's when you were using the no effing money strategy where you're like, okay, I got to be creative. And
yeah, you can imagine I was doing that like in the early days. This is like 2006 Tom, 2007 Tom talking. So
that is gold. Might have to steal that.
yeah, I always find little things to be fun, be remembered.
Yeah.
When you call someone and, if you have to leave a message for them, if you hear them type in, or especially if you think they're writing down the name, ask them to write down the name. And if I say Tom, I say, in the O and Tom, draw a smiley face. I'm like, what? In the O and Tom, draw a smiley face. And so when you get a call back, you say, I'm so excited when this happens. Someone calls back and you're like, I'm also call back a guy with a smiley face and Tom. Yeah, that's me. My secretary remembered you because you said write a smiley face. I'm like, yeah, everyone says call back. Of course, call back. But when you
Yes.
write my name down, write TOM and put a little smiley face in the O.
Oh my God. I love that. And see, it's like, that's just a little bit different. That's all it takes,
Yeah,
being a little bit, just slightly different, and
a little
boom,
different.
you stand out from everybody else.
Yeah, it's always figuring out some way to I don't know, do something. Wearing a name badge that says "Ask me my name."
We are doing so we got an RFP that I just submitted, and we're the top 3, and it's for like $22,000 a month. So it'd be our largest client. And I'm like, how do I stand out from these other MSPs that are going to come in that are really polished? They know their stuff. It was a long RFP, so they really care. So we're about to just do a 4-minute video where we say, what is it going to be like for you guys on onboarding? Who's your account manager? They meet the account manager in the video. And then we go through each department. So they meet the team and they can see visually, I'm an motion graphic video. So they can see like step by step what it's going to be like working with Alltech, and then finish off with the whole team saying like, we're looking forward to working with you. And then me and the owner of Alltech are going to go into like, the death by PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
But I just know for a fact, like no other MSP is going to do that. So even if we don't win the RFP, I know we're standing out from the other 2. And it's going to take maybe 3 hours worth of work,
It's those little things. I have a friend, and I love that. I called his office one day. They do insurance, and we do their tech, right? And he didn't tell me he was doing this, but I thought this was so great. So we have a recording that's kind of funny. If people want to call our office, just listen to the recording. But it says, "Hey, Tom." Yeah, it says, "You've reached Launch Systems. I hope you're having a fantastic day. If your day's less than fantastic, press 1 for support." We play around with it right away. If you have a project you want to make fantastic, press 2 for sales. So we go in this thing. The insurance guy changed his same greeting to the same thing. I hope you're having a fantastic day, but if you're having a problem with your insurance, this is the. So he did that. Then he started a video strategy, and he took his book of business from about a $2 million a year recurring insurance company, so good size insurance book, to $6 million within 2 years of doing video. And he said video is key. He thanked everyone with a short video message he would attach to an email. He did all kinds of little things, replies like that, to even when people would just inquiry to say, "Hey, I'd like you to book my insurance or quote me on a new car insurance." We're talking like he did business insurance, but he mostly was focused on the retail usual. I mean, you can't get much boring than car insurance. And but every reply, he did a video, and he trained some of his team members all reply with these videos, got them all just really basic cameras, or had them use their cell phones and say, reply with the quote numbers for them, send it to them, but also attach a video to it. And I can't name another insurance agency that was doing it the way he does. And because as an independent insurer, how do you distinguish yourself from the large corporate ones? And it killed it. I mean, to watch a guy, and it's no difference in MSP. You got a serviceable book of business, recurring revenue. You're in a commoditized market. What makes you better than the next guy? Why should we sign a contract for a year with you? And how do you stand out? Well, it turns out video worked really well for him.
Wow, that's crazy. I went on a MSP's website recently, and in the Lula live chat, instead of just like a face, it was
Yeah.
a little video. It was like, "Hey, thanks for stopping by." And it's like 30
We're in
seconds,
the
and it
same
can't be.
group. I seen that someone share that as well.
Yeah, and it was like, it was like a little video, like a phone. He just pulled his phone out and did a video. Like, it didn't have to be something crazy or professional
No,
or whatever.
no,
People just video connects, and it's still connecting. Like you said, maybe in a couple years, it's not gonna have the same impact. Cool, then we'll move into VR, and AR. But
exactly.
so so I really appreciate all the time you're spending with me, Tom. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we got a few more questions if that
Okay,
works for you.
let's go.
So, what would you tell an MSP on the fence about doing video, or a marketing manager at that MSP, or the owner at that MSP? Like, you know, what's your advice to that person who's like, should I do it? I'm not good at it. I'm not extroverted, etc.
This is another interesting topic, and it's learning how to be concise and on point when speaking with people. It's not a skill that's commonly aligned with tech people for sure. Presentations should be delivered like performances or delivered less like performances or speeches and much more like conversations. And actually,
Yep.
yes, I'm reading from the screen on that one. I wanted to get the wording right on there, but also I wanted to highlight of what it sounded like when I read something versus the
Wow,
conversation we just had.
so true.
You could tell I'm reading something.
Oh my
And
god.
this is actually the problem. I grabbed a quote from, actually, that was Neil deGrasse Tyson who actually said that. So,
Nice.
anyways, so I was laughing when I was listening to him talk about someone asked him why there aren't more astrophysicists that are, doing podcasts, and he's like, "It's not a skill set needed to be an astrophysicist. It's not like any qualifying thing." Same thing goes for tech. You didn't
True.
get into tech because you were a good public speaker. Usually not why you started. You probably started with a fascination in technology, but then people start going, okay, I want to do videos, so I'm going to script it. The problem is now I'm not saying people can't read from a script and seem compelling, effective, and engaging and passionate, but those people are paid a lot, and we see them in Hollywood. And
Yep.
I'll have to admit that's probably not me. I don't know that I can read scripts despite doing all these videos. You notice the pausing and the less genuine nature it has versus when I'm off the cuff. I think a lot about what I'm going to say. I've thought about being concise. I've actually been to Toastmasters. I've still
Nice.
done things to hone in my skills, and I think those are important. So there's some building you can do personally for that. Toastmasters being the easiest and obvious one, but there's probably a dozen others out there. I have no affiliation with Toastmasters, just hey, throwing it out there. There are places you can get better at speaking. Turns out though, my favorite way to do it is make about 1,200 videos and post them on YouTube and have to edit yourself because I do all my own editing. And then you realize how poorly you speak about some subjects, which sometimes causes you to scrap a video and re-record it. So that is the ultimate.
Wow. Yeah.
Editing
Yeah.
yourself is heartbreaking. And
I know
but
the
also
feeling,
the
man.
way
God, I know the
forward, as I
feeling.
see it, to get better and more concise at speech. So yeah,
Yeah.
uh, being an effective communicator affects your job. It affects your ability to sell. It can affect even technicians, or if you're an internal IT person. When I worked in corporate, my ability to sell to the management team
Yes.
was dependent on my ability to effectively convey why something's important. A
Yep.
lot of times, the failures MSPs have is just in a failure to of really effectively communicate. So
Yep.
work on communication skills and definitely do some type of video where you can be more personal with people. That allows a more personal than the keyboard connection that, other than a couple font choices and the limited amounts that you can do, other than adding more words, how do you really add more context
Yep.
to reiterate the things I'm saying and add the pauses or dramaticness I may have just expressed? Try to do that in writing. Tom said this very dramatically. You have to add a lot of words to convey something I conveyed in about what, a few seconds with a little
Yep.
inflection.
Yeah.
So
100%. God, it's been so cool hearing like the play on words here in this last segment. That's great. And it's like you said, like communicating is more than just like it's selling. I love the example of selling to your management because that's so true. And like all the marketing managers listening, like you're gonna have to sell your campaign idea to the MSP owner and say, look, I need this budget. You're gonna have to learn to sell that. And this is where this comes in. But here's a good example. I heard a really salty MSP on one of these forums. He's like, yeah, so my client's leaving, and the current MSPs, implementing all of these things that I've told them that they need to do to fix their problems, but they never did it. It's like, all right, well, this is the problem. Now the MSP is implementing the things that you should have implemented. Now the client's happy. It's like if you would have sold them on those things and let them truly communicate that those are their issues. It's not that you're trying to upsell them. It's that you're trying to fix their problems. Like if you could have communicated that better, then the other MSP wouldn't have stole your business.
Yes.
And he was real salty, and I didn't comment, but I was like, because I didn't want to be mean. Like the guy's, he lost a client. I wanted to be like constructive, but I didn't know if he'd take it well. But anyway, so anyone listening, like, don't get salty. If your client's really struggling with a problem and they're not making a move to solve it, you need to have an ultimatum for them, like I did recently with a couple clients, where you're saying, hey, you're either moving on this, or you need to work on another. You need to find another IT company. That's one way that works, and the other is just like Tom's saying, learn to communicate and sell a little bit better your ideas.
And back to something you asked me earlier about having a team and be able to leave. By the way, communicate with your team effectively and speaking to them, or the Tom rants, as some of my team calls it. I come in though, and I doodle on the whiteboard a little bit and kind of get them encouraged and excited about something that's going on or a change we're making. Because obviously there's this fear when I come back after going to back events for a week. What's Tom going to try to sell us on today? What tool did Tom discover that we're all going to do? And so you want to be an effective communicator for your team as well. So this benefits you on both sides of the fence. Being able to convince a group of people to eventually convince them to listen to you and say, hey, these are the things we're going to do, or convince the clients that these are the things we're going to do. And ever forward you will go with those two things if you can get them in alignment with each other.
100%. And doing concise videos to where you're telling your point on a camera is the best way for me that has gotten me better at sales and marketing in general. It's like doing these videos has gotten me better at being like, okay, I need to be concise and I need to clearly communicate what I need to communicate in an engaging way.
Right.
Which is I think the only reason this podcast, anyone even listens to this podcast. I'm like, it still surprises me that we have hundreds of people listening. I'm like, I don't know how. Thank you for listening. Maybe it's all those videos I did. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I think the only exception to the rule is if you sound like Morgan Freeman. You actually said that. Someone said, do you give life advice to people? And I listened to an interview and he laughed. He goes, no, my friends know better. He goes, everyone thinks, I'm actually not like the brightest person on this stuff, but boy, I sound like it, don't I?
Yes. Morgan Freeman. I wish he just could narrate my life all the time. It's so great. All right. So just a couple more questions, Tom. I appreciate your time. So what would you say is your marketing strategy at your MSP?
Make videos, people hire us for it. There's not it. Like I said, it came in completely backwards. We started coming to videos and go, I should probably figure out how to action on these people that keep calling me. I'm not gonna lie, serendipity got me here. So
that's so great. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I got this like long, on MSP Camp. It's like, here's all of the things we did. But being a specialist in just one or two of those things can work just as much as doing all the things. And you are proof of that.
I don't recommend serendipity as a business strategy.
Yeah, I'm going to keep pushing the guide I have. It's a lot of checklists, but for other people, hey, this works too.
It's a much likelier outcome of success.
That's awesome. All right, last question, and then we'll kind of get into, if there's anything you want to conclude with. What is next for Lawrence Systems? What does your next few years look like?
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be more of the same. That's the current plan. It seems to be going well, but I always try to figure out what is the next thing I should be doing. What are the things I might be missing? I know we're doing a really poor job of actioning on many of the leads we have, because the leads come in at such a rate we can afford to be lazy. And we should be more effective at reaching out to projects that we've done in the past. It's one of those time things. I've hired several more people this year, and I still don't always have the time to go back and say, hey, that project, should we call them again? I mean, they might need something. And everyone's like, 8 more leads came in. Let's go look at those. So I need to get bigger. I need to either do that, even, merge with someone else, or figure out how to do that more. One thing that is very clear, though, is none of it is going to require more of Tom's time for business management. I'm always trying to work my way further out of the business management side. I don't want to be the HR department, but I'm a small business, so kind of am, I kind of am the person that has to kind of deal with certain business aspects. I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that a little bit less all the time and keep my involvement, because I'm happier with fingers on keyboard. I may be I enjoy all the communicating and making videos, but actually doing the technical things makes me happy. And then talking about those technical things on video. So I'm always aiming towards that, but I won't sell the company. That's the question a lot of people have going, hey, Tom, YouTube's bringing in, I think last year or this year, I'll say, so far, YouTube has brought me in probably 130 or $140,000, and that
Oh,
number
awesome.
keeps going up because that's not any of the leads. That's like just like the ad revenue and affiliate links
Wow.
that come in.
Awesome.
So people are like, oh, you can make a living on that. I'm like, but I what would I talk about if I sold my business? That's why
True.
you end up interested in. I talked to another fairly large YouTuber, and I mentioned I'll say what I said to him. John Hammond. A lot of people know him. He's an amazing communicator when it comes to threat hunting and a lot of followers. But I was kind of joking around with him, because he works for Huntress right now. But like I said, what are you interested in right now, John? And he's like, oh, this cool threat, and they, take apart this DLL of how they hijacked it. You get real technical really quick. I said, but if you didn't do threat hunting, you would instantly go, I just want whoever gets most clicks. I'm not click driven. I'm not clickbait driven. You have to be because you need the most views to monetize things the most when you're not doing a business. For me, because the business, my videos are driven by what's interesting to me. The
Yeah.
video I just recorded this morning was because I just renewed the license on some tooling. And I said, this tooling looks pretty cool. I just paid for the license on it. I was doing another video on it because I'm reviewing some of the latest features they had on it. So I'm always driven by what I'm actually doing internally. I wouldn't be doing dynamic memory virtualization videos if it wasn't for the fact that I helped a company solve a 400 virtual machines that were being shuffled around, and they had some problems with dynamic memory. How did I went and solved the problem. Then I did a video about how that actually works and how you can run into trouble in it when you're running several hundred virtual machines.
Yeah.
And that's all content driven by owning a business. So that's one
Yeah.
of the long answer for why I don't plan to sell and why I continue to consult and directly work in the space. So I want my solutions to be very realistic. Anyone can unbox something and say, hey, look, this thing, and read the specs and go, cool. What does it look like when you deploy these in market? What does it look like 2 years after you deployed them? How do they interact? Or when you're doing a co-managed IT and you set up a series like 2 petabytes of storage, well, how'd that storage actually work out and what actually worked a year later or fell apart? So
Yeah.
I try to share all that knowledge, and I can't share that knowledge if I don't have direct hands-on information with it.
Yep. It's funny you said that. That literally perfectly mirrors my situation because people are like, well, when MSP camp grows, or if it grows, like, are you ever going to leave all tech? And I'm like, absolutely not. Because how do I know what content works?
Right.
It's because I'm constantly talking to prospects and clients. Like, if I were to get detached from that, now I'd become like any other marketing agency that's just putting stuff out there that they think is going to work rather than actually testing and saying, this is what prospects and clients care about right now.
Yeah.
Because those cares shift all the time. Like the last year, everyone's asking about recording, especially reporting, especially the co-managed. They want to know, what reports am I getting? Never, ever, ever was that a question even a year ago. But now, that's what they care about. That's the content that I need to be adding to the campaigns. And so if I were detached from that, just like you're saying, the content wouldn't be as good. The emotion wouldn't be as close. So it's
It happens
interesting that you say
faster
that.
in tech than other industries. I'm not talking about the MSP space, but just in general tech. You have the question of, wow, you see companies that seem to have it. They've got it all figured out. And what is it that made them lose touch? Like the CEO and maybe some of the top people in charge lost touch and lost their market. And it's kind of fun because I've met people who've worked for some very large companies that had some very, very big falls. And a lot of them are like, it's hard to tell a guy, CEO of company, with a Ferrari collection, that he's doing it wrong. He says, oh, no, no, no. I understand the market. I'm sitting at the top of this. And they're like, yeah, you'll be out of business within 2 years if you keep doing this. And next thing you know, they're out of business within 2 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, and it comes to those layers of detachment you have. You just have to figure out a way, and it doesn't, maybe there's a way I can do it without owning a company, but it's however I keep my fingers on the pulse of directly interacting with the technology is how I keep wanting to go forward. As long as you can do that, whether it's because you work directly for marketing for your company doing it, or it's because you have the lived experience directly interacting with the people who contract your company through it. It's all about keeping that understanding of where the market is. And then
Yeah.
the better in tune you are with that, the better you understand, your clients and be able to keep moving forward with it.
Love it. That is such a wonderful, like, that's a clip I'm gonna take out of this, and that'll
Sure,
be on the
take any clip you
if
want.
you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
This has been gold, Tom. I've been excited about doing this since, I cold LinkedIn messaged you like a month ago, and you're like, "Sure, man, I'll do it." I'm like, "What? This is crazy." So I really appreciate you taking the time and like really just giving a lot of great advice for the MSPs listening. And I myself am going to use a lot of this. So if
Yeah.
I got value, I'm assuming they got value too.
Yeah, just give all the knowledge out, man. There's
Yes.
nothing. Man, I was on a call the other day and someone tried to say they didn't want people knowing exactly what products they use because that's their proprietary. Like, really? You think the grouping together of products you've chose is your proprietary
Yeah.
value?
Oh
I'm like,
my
no,
God. That
no.
is so funny.
No, there's a lot of thinking and mentality still going around in the industry, and I try to preach against it. I'm like, here's a stack of tools we use. Oh, by the way, I keep a list on my forums. I don't hide it at all. I don't think the value I've created is just what products I chose to land on.
The other thing you do that I love, you got your pricing right on the site. We do too. And other
Yeah,
MSPs are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't care. I'm transparent. Like, here's my price. I know my competitor's price. Like, I don't care."
you know,
It's
fun anecdote about this. There was a talk of at a pool organization, and it was so funny because all these different people owned like those pool and spa companies, and the speaker up there gets up and says, "How many of you don't put your pricing on your website because you don't want your competitors know?" And like most of the hands go up. And then he goes, "All right, go down." He goes, "How many of you know your competitor's pricing?" All the hands went back up. He
yes,
goes,
exactly.
"Great job, guys." He goes, "How many of your customers know now?"
Is I bet that's the guy from They Ask You Answer.
I think so. Yeah.
He's like, I read that book and I loved it. I think that was I think a lot of the inspiration of being like, "Yeah, why not?" So that's so funny you mentioned
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Well, you know what?
that
What
guy's
it did
great.
was it cut down on a number of leads that weren't interested in our
Ex
product.
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. It's
It's kind of a
exactly right.
filtering thing. Like, look,
Yes,
I
it is.
charge this X per hour. It's on my website. And I say
Yep.
X because we do change it from time to time. I don't want to
Yeah.
date the video,
Yeah.
but I do that. So it's kind of a like, we do cost this much.
Yep.
I already know I'm not the cheapest of my competitors.
Yep.
So if that bothers you, if you're only shopping me for price, well, this is my price point. If that's not aligned with what you think is valuable for the consulting, that's fine. There are some people who are lower price on it. I mean,
100%. It's cut down all of our, like, junk leads. I don't wanna say
yeah,
junk leads because 'cause they're businesses, and I always refer them to people that can help them. But, like, I can't help them, so why do I don't wanna waste
yeah.
either of our time them calling me.
Exactly. So I'm really big on a lot of that. I mean, a lot of people just want to get the leads in first type thing, and try to massage them up to there. But if there's not even alignment, you're not speaking on the same language.
Yes.
Just move on, like focus on that because it can take a lot of energy. And as we kind of mentioned, it seems like I have a lot of time, but time is finite. So
Yes. Yep. Yeah, your thoughts are exactly my thoughts on that. Like, we just did an episode on, like, why we publish a price calculator, and it's exactly what you're talking about, and, like, I'm not telling MSPs, like, "Go do what we did," but it's like, this is why we did it.
yeah.
And it's exactly what you're just saying. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
having some baselines established is helpful.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
get a starting point where you want to talk about it. We don't have all of our details of per endpoint because that kind of varies based on what I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
scoping out for things. But just a general consulting rates, hey, those are on there because that's a lot of
Yep.
what we do is IT consulting. So you kind of get at least the idea of where our pricing is.
Yep. Love it. Is there any other, tidbits or advice you wanted to give to any MSPs listening to this, Tom?
Oh, like and subscribe.
Yeah, no, seriously, go check out Lauren Systems, his videos are great. He's
No,
awesome.
no, I don't have anything else besides that. Hopefully, this helps a few people. That's actually my favorite thing when I meet people is that I meet strangers like, "Hey, that few tips you gave me really helped me," or people that tell me they landed a contract. I've even got one of how we do infrastructure bidding. I've got actually several videos on that topic, and I've had a lot of people that started wiring companies and building infrastructure and going, "Man, that was really helpful to do it that way. It really simplified things." I'm like, "Yeah." Thank you. Like, I'm happy it helped you. I don't mind even if people are in my area. We have more than one of those who are in my area. Matter of fact, the contractors that we use found me through my videos, and we've actually since because we've got that much work when it comes to the wiring locally. I want to say we've given them well over 500,000 this year in
Wow.
business. So it's like, hey
Yeah.
guys, like they reached out to me like I really like your videos and blah blah blah, and I'm like, you guys got some surplus time? Because I have surplus jobs.
You know, it's
So
funny you say that
yeah, I
because
don't mind. Give it all out.
we're moving into that business. I'm gonna have to check those videos out. You know, we're
Yeah.
adding a full structured cabling piece to
Oh, it's
all things. So
I can rant. That's a whole other topic about
yeah,
ranting about structured cabling, the
I'm gonna
good and
have
the
to get
bad.
you
It is a
on.
different crew. It's a different group of people. There's a lot to managing it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's great. Tom, I really, really appreciate your time. Any MSP listening, go check out Tom. Go add him on LinkedIn. His posts are great. Um,
Yeah, I
and if
post there
you're,
too. I tweet
yeah,
for now.
for now, yeah, we'll see.
It's also November 2022. I don't know what future you're listening to this in,
They're like,
or what the
what's
status of
Twitter?
Twitter is.
Yeah. And for anybody listening that is interested in getting more into video, go to, Lawrence Systems, go to All Tech Services. I think we have like 300 subscribers compared to your 300,000, but it doesn't matter. We've gotten lots of leads from it. You don't need a lot of
No.
subscribers. And if you're interested in getting into video, to anyone listening, go to msp-camp.com. There's a completely free guide on how to do video marketing for your MSP. And I'm going to be adding these extra pieces from this conversation into that guide, totally free for MSPs, because again, me and Tom are all about get it out there, help the MSPs, and we all improve together. So Tom, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome.
All right. Thanks.